notice I will never give the nós estamos because, again, a gente reigns supreme. So why learn it? Hi, I'm KD, and we're back again for week 2 of me trying to be better at Portuguese. One thing I want to make clear from the last video, I'm not trying to teach anybody Portuguese. I'm not proficient, I'm not a teacher, so I'm not going to go through the conventional beginning phases or go through every step one by one, because either I already am familiar or I probably would do a horrible job explaining, and I don't want to be responsible for you learning Portuguese in the wrong way, not grammatically correct. More so, this is just showing you my process, my journey, and maybe you can take some pointers here and there. With that being said, we could jump back into the book I was using in depth into chapter 4 along with chapters 5 and 6, go over some things that I feel are important from there, and then also go into vocab, and then talk about how I feel about where I am right now. So chapter 4 is titled Nouns, Articles, and Contractions, and the first part it goes over is how words have gender. There's no exact formula to determine which words are feminine and which words are masculine. It's one of those things that over time in practice you will eventually learn, but of course there are general rules you can use to help you out. Majority of the words that end in O are masculine, and majority of the words that end in an unstressed A are feminine. The exceptions can be if the ending is a stressed A, it can be a masculine word, and then there's also certain words in Portuguese language that are Greek based that end in A and are masculine, like cinema or planeta. The next part it gets into is kind of what I went into last week. Pronouns. Eu is I, você, you, nós, we, vocês, you all. Okay, tu is you, because my wife is carioca. I mostly use vocês. I know in certain parts of the country they use tu. It really doesn't matter, but I will be using você or vocês. And then after that it gets into definitive articles. The word the. In English we just have the. In Portuguese you have plural and gender, so it turns from 1 to 4. O for masculine, a for feminine, os plural masculine, and as for plural feminine, just the way it is. Similarly, you have indefinite articles, a in English, uns, uma, umas. After that, you have demonstrative articles, this, these, that, and those, este, esse, esta, essa, estes, esses, estas, essas, aquele, aquela, aqueles, and aquelas. For those demonstrative articles, you can go through those rules when you're supposed to use esta versus essa. It's like whether the part is before or after. Forget all that. Alright, all Brazilians use isso. Que isso, that's what they use. There is certain cases where they use sc or essa. It depends on what it is. They hardly ever use esta. So I had to double check. Isso will get you far. That, those, this, isso, take it. After that, the chapter finishes with contractions. When you have prepositions merged with the articles, indefinite or definite. For instance, G is from, sometimes of. Instead of saying G and then O, you say do, da, dos, das. To get from the, you merge them together and get do. Same thing works for ing. I think I mentioned that last video. So ing goes to no or na or nos and nas. And then for indefinite articles, so a, you have num, numa, nuns, numas. And that pretty much finishes that chapter. The next one introduces one of the most important verbs, ser. Ser is to be. Eu sou, você é, você são. And it goes into when you should use that verb to be. And really the remainder of the chapter, it gives you certain descriptors to practice saying the word. So, ele é pianista. Basically, so you get a good understanding of when to use the word ser, because it leads directly into the next chapter of the other to be verb, which is estar. The easiest way to understand the difference between the two is that ser is more permanent, whereas estar is something that's kind of temporary. If a person plays the piano and they have that skill, that's permanent. They're a pianist. If a person has a cold, hopefully that's not permanent and it will go away. So that's when you would use estar. The verb estar is conjugated to eu estou, você está, or vocês estão. And again, difference, permanent versus temporary. She is a pianist. Ela é pianista. She is sick. Ela está doente. In actuality, this chapter goes into some other stuff that's very important, like describing locations, baixo, abaixo, embaixo, debaixo. It's a whole bunch of things, and those are important. I'm going to skip them. Why? Because I am not a teacher and I'm not good at describing when to use one in each situation. But maybe eventually down the road, once I finish the book and I double to another book that does better explaining, I'll get more in depth. But the next thing that this chapter talks about is using progressive tense, ing, running, he was running, that type of thing. In Portuguese is indo, ando. It changes by the end of the verb. So the infinitive verb, it ends in AR, IR, ER, right? Depending on that is how you put the NDO attached. But it sounds the same. Estudar, AR, estudando, studying, escrever, ER, escrevendo, writing, and assistir, IR, assistindo, watching. Important to say that you're doing something, so that is something I can talk about, and it's very good. Then they go into peculiar uses of ser versus estar. Sometimes it's like a choice depending on what you're trying to say, and it's really funny to me because the examples they use are ele é loco, which means he's crazy, he needs to go to a mental facility, versus ele está loco, he's crazy, he did something crazy in the moment. So you watching Messi and he does something ridiculous, ele está loco. You wouldn't say ele é loco because then you're saying Messi needs to be committed, and that's not something nice to say. Okay. The last part of the chapter kind of talks about plural adjectives and nouns because that's the whole thing. Again, not gonna get into it. Do what you do. I kind of understand, I have a gist, so I'm gonna skip over it. But I want to also talk about vocabulary process and the apps that I mentioned last week. So I mentioned Anki. It's a much better app than I thought. Definitely use Anki. I have switched up what I said. I'm not writing down the words. I thought that you could just download the flashcards. You can really create your own flashcards, and the beauty of it is that you're able to type in words in Portuguese, let the app know that it is a Portuguese word, and it actually be able to say it to you as you're writing the flashcard. So for instance, what I did is took the words in Portuguese, put that as the side that you see first, and it says it for you. Then when it flips on the back, it has that same word, it can say it for you again, and then I have the English word that it means. This is really beneficial to me. It's essentially what I wanted to do by writing it down in a Word document. I'm going to assess how it goes from now. I'm kind of going through the alphabet. That's very good when you're trying to understand words in Portuguese, but I don't know how it's going to translate necessarily to me speaking in Portuguese because I'm only one way learning. So we'll see in a sense, but I'm showing you right now like how it actually looks when you want to enter a word into the app as a flashcard. You can set up however many you want to do each session. It was 10 a day. I think I increased it to like 30, and you basically rate how you feel. So if you tried to guess it and you know you didn't know it, put fail. It's an honor system with yourself, and it really tells you how well you are learning. You know how well you're learning. I felt like it was difficult, hard. I think I got it, but it wasn't like second nature, good. And then if it was second nature, easy. And that gives you a score, and I plan on going until my score increases to at least over 70%. Right now it's like failing. It's crazy. It's horrible. Then after that, I'll start adding more words in and keep it going. Now, I highly recommend that you use it to increase the vocabulary. Because it's with the phone, it's really easy that whenever you have downtime to kind of go through it, it's right there at your fingertips. Why not go through it real quick? So Anki, definitely use that app. And that's about it. Other than that, I've been trying to communicate more in Portuguese with Gabby, like on a regular basis. One of the hardest things about trying to actively speak Portuguese, even though her native language is Portuguese, is that I just want to get a point across, and it's a lot easier for me to do that in English, and I have to kind of take a backseat to get my point across in Portuguese. Maybe next week I can bring her in so you can get another status update. But that's all I have for this week. So I hope you enjoyed the video. If there's any other tips that you feel that should be added, please do. Again, I'm not a Portuguese teacher. I'm just showing you my progress. If you like this video, like the video, subscribe to the channel and turn on the notification bell, and I will see you in the next one, hopefully. Peace.